What's up everyone, I'm Matt with Ozark Overland Adventures, and in this video, probably gonna hurt some feelings. Probably gonna make some people upset, but this is something that I've been thinking about for a while. I mean, overlanding gets a bad rap for, for people just going out and buying a bunch of crap that they don't need. And I've been guilty of that in the past. And I've got lots of experience under my belt now of mistakes that I've made, things that I've experienced where I thought, oh, that solution wouldn't have done anything to fix what it's supposed to do, type of things. So I want to talk about really the most useless overlanding gear / modifications that you can do, and hopefully save you some money, at least help you think through some of these decisions as you're planning on some longer overlanding trips. Now, disclaimer, I'm talking about overlanding, long distance travel, changing campsites each night, on the move type travel, not camping, not staying at a campsite for the weekend or even for a week and not moving. Those are different variables. So some of what I'm going to talk about for overlanding may actually be useful for long-term camping situations. So do know that going in, and it is okay if we disagree. We can agree to disagree. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't agree with what I'm talking about, and I don't want you to get your feelings hurt if I say something that you've bought into. It's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you disagree with me. So let's get into this. All right, number one on this list, and this is from my own personal experience, excess water storage. It's just ridiculous. I've actually got two of these, and two of these around my garage or up in my attic. That, I thought when you go out on long trips, you got to have a whole bunch of water. Because water's the most important thing for survival. So you got to have a whole bunch of water. But I would go out on my my 7-day to 10-day trips, and I'd come home with a crap ton of water. I didn't use near the amount of water that I thought I would. And this is for when I'm out solo and when it's just me and my wife. If you're taking a whole family out, you got to have more water, obviously. If you're going out and you're going to be showering at camp and you have a shower system to be able to shower at camp, and you're not going to be next to a stream or a lake to get your water from that, you're going to need more water for that. For us, if we're just out for a week, we can get by just fine with the nice big body wipe towelette things. I can't remember the brand that we use, but anyway, we can get by just fine on that. Or taking a shower with like a geyser shower system that only uses 3 liters of water, and you can get a nice shower out of that. So you don't have to have a full-blown shower when you're out and about. And you can also get a hotel when you're out and about. But I've got so much water storage. Now, when it's just me, or just me and my wife for just like a weekend trip, I carry two 2-liter bottles of water in my fridge. I carry two of these in my fridge. This is our cold drinking water that I can refill from my water jug. But I take this little 2-gallon Rotopacks. This works great, and I can flip it. I got the little thing here, and so I can just turn this on, and I have a place to wash my hands. I have a place to fill up my pot or stuff. This has been awesome, and it's only 2 gallons. And see, here's the thing. When you're out on an overlanding trip, you're going to need gas before you run out of water. And just about any place that you can get fuel, you can top off your water there. I have yet to go into a gas station and ask, hey, do you have a place where I can fill up my water jugs? And they've turned me down. People aren't like that, at least not that I've experienced. When I was first building out my Gladiator, I had this grand idea. I'm gonna get one of those thin, tall, 10, 15 gallon water storage things, and we'll put it in the back of the bed, and that's going to be sweet. I'm going to have all this water. And I'm so glad I didn't do that, because that would just be unnecessary space taken up. It is just silly carrying around all that weight when, I've taken 2 of these on a trip before, or 2 of these, and I come home and one's completely full and one's still partially full. Why am I carrying around all that extra weight? I could just, if I'm out on a longer trip, I'm gonna have my Rotopacks. I'm gonna have probably this 20-liter, 5-gallon Scepter can. And that's all I'm gonna take. And then when I need to get gas, if I need to top off, my water jugs, I'll do that then. I'm not gonna carry around excess weight and all this extra water when I don't need it. All right, up next, going with the water theme. This is one of the things, it just sounds so cool. I love shows like Survivor and Alone and what was that? Survivor Man, Bear Grylls type Survivor shows. I love those. And going out doing this overlanding thing kind of brings out that survivalist mentality in you. And so you just want to be prepared for anything. And I think you should. But this is probably the biggest area that I have just spent money that I never used it. And that's water filtration. There's multiple options. There's just like the life straws for like hiking and stuff. There's these bag filtration systems where you can fill that full of water and put that in your in your jerry can or water storage thing and filter water that way. Or you've got these big lifesaver jerry cans. These things are like $350, $400. I've never used this, never needed it ever, because on an overlanding trip, you're gonna need gas before you run out of water. So unless it's good to have something like this in case something catastrophic happens. You're in a remote area and you break down and you need to filter water. That type of survival mentality. And in that case, something that can pack up really small, like one of the bag options, so takes up very little space, and you can just kind of put that in your survival kit. Not bad. But yeah, I have never, as many times as we have gone out, never been in a situation where I needed to filter water. Now, when we're out, in 2 years, 2.5 years, and we're living full time on the road, and we're camping in areas longer, in that situation, it might be good to have, something like this to be able to filter water. But I just, in the U.S., there's just so many places we can get water. Any place you get gas, you can get water. So I have never ever used either of these. Never needed to filter water at camp. I think this next one may catch some people off guard, because if you've seen my channel, I review a lot of power stations and solar panels with them and that sort of thing. But you know what I've never used on an overlanding trip? Solar panels. Never needed them. And that's because we're always on the move. Like I said at the beginning, if you're camping in one spot for a while, then solar panels to charge your power station or your batteries, that sort of thing, I would say that's a must. But if you are on a trip where you are, changing campsites each day and you're on the move exploring, seeing amazing things, these are pointless, because you get into camp, maybe say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the earliest, and you've only got a few hours worth of sun left that's not in the ideal spot in the sky, probably getting some tree cover. That's not going to do you much good. And if you've got a power station or you've got auxiliary batteries, then you should have a way to charge them while you're driving. I mean, that's just, either through the cigarette lighter output or through an AC output that your vehicle may have, or something, because that is way more efficient than solar. So with all the solar setups that I've got, the only time I have ever used them is when we were base camping at an event like Big Iron Overland Rally, which is coming up in October. Shameless plug here, Big Iron Overland Rally, October, Big Brutus Monument thing in Mineral Springs, in Kansas. Fantastic event. You know, camping, Woodstock, where Overlanding kind of meets, you know, music festival. A lot of fun, a lot of fun. But you're just base camping there. You're there for, you know, Friday through Sunday, Thursday through Sunday, depending on when you get there, and you're just base camping. In that case, the solar panels are great if you're base camping. But if you're overlanding and you're on the move, save the space in your rig, save the weight, because this won't do you any good. I know, I've taken them, never used them, because I've got means to charge either my batteries that are in the back of the Gladiator. They're being charged by a Red Arc DC-DC 1250 charger. My wife has auxiliary batteries in the back of her Wrangler. They're being charged by a Renogy DC-DC charger. We've got you know, inverters to charge power stations, or just a 12-volt socket to charge power stations while we're on the move. There's no, unless you're base camping, don't mess with the solar panel. All right, this next one may be the most controversial, but I see it on so many overland rigs, and I just go, you didn't think this through. Whoever came up with this idea didn't think this through. Limb risers, and obviously this is a fake one. I just took some paracord that I have and tied it up here as an example. But limb risers, I don't think people thought this through. And I dare you to find anyone that goes through more tighter trails than the people who wheel in the Ozarks. In the Ozark National Forest, I challenge you to find tighter trails than the Ozarks, where limb risers might actually come in handy. But the theory is that when you're wheeling in tight trails, you know, you're gonna, branches coming out over the trails, it's supposed to lift them up and then, you know, lift them up off the vehicle. Well, here's what happens. And they think this is, you know, somehow supposed to save you from pinstripes. Well, first of all, most of your pinstripes, they're down here, not up here. So all your pinstripes are down here on your doors. This doesn't do anything to protect your doors at all. So what happens is, you know, in theory, you got a limb here, and it's going up the limb riser, and it's getting it off of your stuff. But when it gets up here, it's just going to go, whoo, and you're going to add, instead of horizontal stripes from pinstripes, you're going to add vertical ones too, from the limbs getting up here and then falling down under the tension of the branch. At most, a limb riser may save, you know, some A-pillar scratches, but then you're just going to add them elsewhere. So whoever came up with limb risers did not think it through. And I'm sorry, and if you've got limb risers on your vehicle, oh, okay, we can agree to disagree. I mean, they look cool, kind of, not really. But they don't do what you think they do. And like I said, no one wheels in tighter trails than what we have here. Maybe out east, you know, in the Appalachians areas, you know, you might find trails as tight as the Ozarks, but nope. This is something that if anybody was going to need limb risers, I would. And they're just, they don't do what you think they do. Okay, this is one of those engine modifications that I see people talk about a lot, and I see it get asked a lot in the overlanding forums, and especially the Jeep forums. It's like the limb risers. People aren't thinking it through, or they're thinking back to the older classic engine days where a cold air intake. A cold air intake. Here's the thing. In modern engines, you'll get exactly zero benefit other than maybe some whooshy sounds. But let's break this down. Cold air intake. So cold air is denser air, which is good for an engine because more air, more, you know, the air-fuel ratio, you know, denser air performs better. That's just how engines work. But let's break this down. Cold air intake. So cold air. They're like, here's the air box on my Jeep. This is you know where a cold air intake is located? Right here. And it's usually open and exposed. At least on the factory intake, it's got a little kind of a funnel here, so it's sucking in air kind of right here. But a cold air intake doesn't have that. And it's just kind of an open filter kind of thing here. And you know where a cold air intake is taking in the air? Inside the hot engine bay. It's actually a hot air intake because you're getting you're getting hot air from the engine bay and not cold, fresh air from out here. And modern engines, they're run by computers. You can put all the big open air intake here all you want to. That will not change the amount of airflow that the computer lets in the engine. If it senses there's a whole lot more air coming through, it's going to dial that back because the engine knows the proper air to fuel ratio that it needs. And so adding a cold air intake does nothing for performance. It's snake oil. If you actually want a cold air intake that's going to have more benefit than just whooshy sounds from the thing, just get a snorkel. Because guess where the air intake for this is? It's up here. It's up here. Fresh air, colder air than what's located under here. I don't know why people think a cold air intake is cold and going to do any performance gains. It's not. In fact, you're going to get more dust in your engine. You're going to get more susceptible to hydrolocking with a cold air intake. And if you want a real cold air intake, just get a snorkel. Look, hot engine bay air, colder, fresher air. So, you got to think these through. Okay, and finally on the list of useless overlanding gear / mods, a high lift jack. I know, go ahead, go to the comments right now. A high lift jack. I don't own a high lift jack anymore. I used to, got rid of it because guess what? Never ever used. And in the times where we have tried to use a high lift jack, well, I'll tell you. So we're just going to pretend this old tripod of mine is a high lift jack. And here's the problems with them. In the right hands, they're a useful tool. In the right hands, but I would bet 98% of them are not in the right hands. They're bought because they're cool, because they can serve as decoration. Mounted to the side of your rack, or we'll rag on Jeep owners here for a second because it's just ridiculous. Mounted on the hood of your Jeep. That's the dumbest place ever you could put a high lift jack. But you see them all the time because cool. But they're ridiculously heavy. They have to be well maintained. A rusty, unmaintained high lift is probably one of the most dangerous tools you could have with you. And there's always that, but it can be used in a recovery situation. Instead of a winch. Well, here's my question: why are you going out to remote destinations, especially if you're by yourself, and you don't have a winch or traction boards if you're in sand and snow? A high lift is not going to do anything except for maybe if you need extra weight in the back of your truck to add weight on the tires, maybe. I will not carry a high lift jack anymore. I had a flat on the trail earlier this year. My buddy had one of the fancy ARB high lifts, the pneumatic ones. They're much better than a standard high lift. A lot more expensive too. But anyway, he got that out, going to get to use it. Well, guess what? If you've got a lifted vehicle and you start lifting from the body, you're just lifting the suspension. We had that sucker all the way done, and my tires weren't even close to coming off the ground. Yes, we could have taken the extra effort and put a strap between the axle and the frame to support the axle and then lifted it up. But a friend of mine had a better solution, and you know what works every time under the axle? Bottle jack. Takes up a lot less space, is a lot more useful than a high lift for actual maintenance, changing flats, jack purposes. So I carry one of these. I will not carry a high lift. There's just no need because, lifted vehicles, you can't lift them high enough to actually lift the tire. So, yeah, a high lift jack is just it's worthless. Great on a farm, call them farm jacks for a reason. Great on farms, but if you're out in remote destinations, you need to have better recovery gear. And if you're worried about actually lifting your vehicle, you need to think it through, and just carry a bottle jack, or go full overlander, or off-roader and get a Pro Eagle or the Harbor Freight equivalent. Get a big old off-road floor jack. Those are even more. Those are more cool than a high lift, and actually work better too. So, anyway, I hope it didn't hurt anybody's feelings too bad on this video. But I mean, this is just some stuff that, from my personal experience, it's just not needed. People don't think them through. So I hope it was helpful. We can agree to disagree. Tell me in the comments. You're not going to hurt my feelings at all. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one, a little bit different, and some of it a little tongue-in-cheek, but not really. Anyway, so if you like the video, give it a like. Don't give it a thumbs down. If I hurt your feelings, don't give it a thumbs down. Don't be that person. But give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. Help us hit that goal of 100,000 by the end of the year. If you like what we're doing and you find this stuff helpful and educational, and you want to support the channel, check out our Patreon link in the description. You get access to special events, special content, all of our GPS data, and for Ozark Overland Adventures merchandise, go to shopoverlandapparel.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.